Good morning. Today we are going to work on EX8, the Excel Module 8 in-class project. So go ahead and download your file. There's only one file this time. And open up your instructions and you can follow along with me. Make sure you save your file as the _2 and we're ready to get started. So step 1, go to the customer list worksheet and complete the following actions. Apply a conditional formatting rule to the range A4 to A32 that formats any duplicate values with yellow fill and dark yellow text. Okay, so we're going to take A4 through A32 and we're going to go to conditional formatting, and we want highlight cell rules, and we're going to say duplicate values, and we want to do a yellow fill with dark yellow text. So yellow fill with dark yellow text, and say OK. And if you click out of your highlighted section, you'll see where you have duplicate values, it is highlighted. So we need to change this. So basically these are customer IDs, and as you'll learn when we get into databases, there are things that you want to be unique, and a customer ID is generally something you want to be unique. So we don't want two customers with the customer ID of 1012 when their customer name is different. So we're going to update the customer ID value for Firehouse Partners LLC. So for this one to 1015. And after you hit enter, you'll see that is no longer a duplicate, so that conditional formatting goes away. And then we're going to change the Applewild Learning Center to 1023. And you'll see that that conditional formatting goes away. Now, if you'll notice, I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to change this to a duplicate number. And the formatting, it now changes to yellow. The formatting is still there, but it's because it's conditional, it only happens when there is a duplicate. So just because you don't see the formatting right at that time doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And this is very useful for things like this that you want to see when you make a typo and it's the same thing as it was before, and you're like, okay, that's wrong, because now it's highlighted it for me and it's just made it so much easier for you to be able to see. Okay, step 2. Edit the conditional formatting rule applied to the range G4 to G32 so that the highlighted cells are formatted with the font color white background 1 and the fill color blue accent 5. Okay, so you can see this is a conditional formatting here. We want G4 to G32. We're going to go up to conditional formatting and we're going to say manage rules. And we're going to go ahead and say current selection, which is this right here. Select that rule and say edit rule. So here's our rule. It's the cell value greater than or equal to 400,000, and then the format. So we want to change the format. So click the format button, and we're going to change it to a font color of white background 1 and a fill color of blue accent 5 lighter 40%. So it's the 9th column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 4th row. So it should be that one. It's not highlighting. It's not highlighting for me, but I believe that's the one. And say OK. So that's what it's going to look like. You say OK once again, and now you'll see the formatting has changed. And that just makes it a little bit easier to really pop out at you when something for your conditional formatting. Okay, step 3. In cell D4, we're going to enter a formula that calculates customer tenure in years using absolute and structured references. The formula should calculate tenure based on subtracting the value in the first order column from the current year value in cell B1. If necessary, copy the formula you created in D4 to the range D5 to D32. Okay, so a structured reference is referring to your table. If you'll notice, you have this table tools. If you go in here to table tools, you'll see that this is formatted as a table, which means anything that you do to one row in this column is going to apply to every row in that column. And so a structured reference allows you to reference the column name instead of having to reference the exact cell. So what we're going to do is in our formula, we're going to calculate the tenure, subtracting the value in the first order column from the current year value in cell B1. Well, cell B1, that's where we want our absolute value to be, because we don't want that to change when things copy. So we're going to do an equal. We're going to select cell B1 and make it absolute. And then we're going to subtract the first order. And so you can select either the column heading or the cell, and you're going to see where it says at first order. And that's what we want. We're going to say enter. And you'll see it puts it all the way down. And it always says the at first order. And what that's doing is it's saying, okay, we're looking at this cell for this row. Because remember, in a table, all of our columns are related on that specific row. Okay. In cell I4, enter a formula that uses the if function and structured references to calculate the two-year growth percentage. Okay, so in I4, we're going to do an equal, and we're going to say if, and open our parentheses. And it says the two-year growth percentage can be calculated if the value in the 2015 sales column is greater than 0. So that's our condition. So 2015, so we're going to say if this column is greater than 0, that's our condition. Then to calculate the two-year growth percentage, divide the value in the two-year sales growth column by the value in the 2016 sales column. So we're going to say the two-year sales growth value divided by the 2016 sales. So that's our condition if it's true. So if it's true, we're going to calculate that. And then if it's false, we're going to put in n/a. And then close your parentheses. And you'll see it calculates that percentage. It's already formatted as a percentage, but it does it for each one. And you'll see where this is not greater than 0, you get an NA. Step 5, in cell J4, enter a formula that uses the if function and structured references to determine customer discount eligibility. We're going to use the OR function in this formula. So now we're starting to do nested conditions. So in J4, that's a yes or no. A customer is eligible for a discount if the customer's 2016 sales is greater than or equal to 100,000, or if the customer's first order was placed in 2016. So this is where our OR condition comes in. So we're looking, our condition is this or this. So we're going to start with an if, open your parentheses. And then we're going to do the OR function. So this is our logical test. So we're going to do OR and open your parentheses. And we're going to say if the 2016 sales, so 2016 sales is greater than or equal to 100,000, and then do a comma because our second condition for our OR is if our first order, so we're going to say first order here, is equal to 2016. So if either one of those conditions is true, then we need to use the true value of our if statement. If both of those conditions are false, then we need to use our false value. That's the way an OR works. An OR, any condition can be true. But if all of the conditions are false, then it's going to be false. If any condition is true, then you use the true. So we're going to do a comma, and now we want our true condition. So if the customer qualifies for a discount, return the value of yes. So we're just going to do a double quotes and a Y and a close quotes. And then if they're not eligible for a discount, we're going to put a no or an N. Close your parentheses and hit enter. And now you get a series of yes and no's. Okay, step 6. In cell K4, we want to enter a formula that uses a nested if function and structured references. So now we're going to do an if inside of an if. And we want to calculate the discount percentage. So if the value in the discount yes/no column is equal to no, the discount value should be no. And then if the value in the discount yes or no column is equal to yes, then we need to check if the value in the tenure column is less than 5. So that's where our second condition comes in. If it's no, then our discount column is 0. Easy enough. If it's yes, then we need to look at their tenure. And if the tenure is less than 5, the discount is going to be 0.07. If the tenure is greater than 5, or greater than or equal to 5, then we want the discount to be 0.1. So the discount is based on how long they've been a customer. And so we need to be able to determine that in that if statement. So we're going to do an equal if, and then we're going to do our first condition. And so we're going to say if the discount is equal to no, then we're going to put 0. Easy enough. But if it's not equal to no, then we want to see how long they've been a customer. So then we're going to put in another if and open your parentheses. And the logical test is if the tenure in years is less than 5. If that is true, so we put a comma in our true condition. So if that is true, then the discount column value should be 0.07. And if it's false, put your comma, your false value, we want it to be 0.1. Close that parentheses, which closes your second if, and then close your parentheses again, and that closes your first if, and hit enter. So we're going to see, is our discount equal to no for our first case? No, it's equal to yes. So now we're going to look at our tenure. Is our tenure greater than 5? Well, yes, it is. So we want a discount of 0.1 or 10%. If you look at the next column, our discount is a no, so we get a 0. When we come down here to the next yes, it says, okay, yes, our discount is a yes, so we need to look at tenure. Is tenure less than 5? Well, yes, it's less than 5, so our discount should be 0.07 or 7%. So when you see these numbers, then you know that your if statement is working properly. Okay, step 7. In cell L4, enter a formula that uses an if function and structured references to assign a priority value to each customer. And in this case, we're going to use an AND function. So if the if function should check if a customer has a tenure field value greater than or equal to 5 years and the 2016 sales field value is greater than or equal to 150,000. So that is our if statement. So come in here to the first cell. We're going to say equal if, and our condition, we're going to do an AND. So an AND condition says that every condition has to be true in order for the result to be true. If one condition is false, then the whole thing is false. So we're going to say and open your parentheses. And we need to see the tenure field value is greater than or equal to 5 years. So we're going to say tenure, and we'll say greater than or equal to 5. Do a comma for the second condition. And the 2016 sales is greater than or equal to 150,000. Close your parentheses for your AND. So that finishes our AND, and that's our logical test. So I'm going to do a comma, and we want our true value. For our true value, so if it meets both of those criteria, then we want to say high. And if it doesn't, then we want to say low. Close your parentheses and hit enter. And again, you're going to see it fills in the entire column for you. Okay, step 8. In cell Q4, nest the lookup function in an if error function. So Q4 here already has a VLOOKUP function. We don't need to change this. It needs to stay exactly as it is. But if you notice, you have this pound NA. That is the result. It's basically giving you an error. It's saying, okay, this VLOOKUP, which is looking up this customer ID of 1119, isn't to be found anywhere. So what are we going to do about it? So instead of displaying this error, which maybe doesn't mean very much to your customer, we want to actually put something in there of value or of more information. So we're going to use a function that's called an if error function. And it says if there's an error, then you're going to display this text. So in your VLOOKUP function where it says equal VLOOKUP, before the VLOOKUP, so after the equal sign and before the VLOOKUP, you're going to type in if error and open your parentheses. And then at the very end of the VLOOKUP function, where that last parentheses is, you're going to put a comma. So it says, okay, if this function gives us an error, what do we want to put in the cell if there is an error? So we want to put invalid customer ID. end your quotes, and then close your parentheses. So if this function, the VLOOKUP function, does not produce an error, then it's going to put out the information. But if it produces an error, then we want it to say invalid customer ID. If you hit enter, you're going to see it does come up and say invalid customer ID. That makes a whole lot more sense to your customer than an NA does. An NA is like, okay, what does NA mean? So your error comes up, and then we want to go ahead and change this to 1019 and hit enter, and you'll see, oh, well, that's why the NA didn't work, or that's why the function didn't work, because there isn't a 1019. There's not a 1119, there's only a 1019. So when we changed it to 1019, then you can see our VLOOKUP function worked, and the error condition is no longer true. Okay, in cell Q6, so our discount down here, we want to enter a formula using the VLOOKUP function to look up the customer ID value shown in cell Q3 in the customer Nashua table located in A3 through L32. The VLOOKUP function should then retrieve the discount value from the customer Nashua table, the 11th column, for this record. And then it should find an exact match in the value in Q3. Okay, so we're going to do an equal VLOOKUP, and you're going to open your parentheses. So our lookup value is Q3, your customer ID. That's easy enough. Your table array is the customer Nashua table. So if you select A3 all the way through L32, then you're going to see it comes up customers Nashua and then a pound all. That means that table. That's the table that we're looking at. So we're going to do a comma, and then our column index number, they said, was the discount value. So it's the 11th column. So we're going to put 11. And then your range lookup, they want an exact match. So we're going to say false. Close your parentheses. And now if you look at customer 1019, which is row 22, you'll see your discount value is 10%, which is what comes up right there. So we know our VLOOKUP worked right. Next, in cell Q7, enter a formula using the HLOOKUP function to determine the free services customer incentive offered to Spring Sales bigger clients. The HLOOKUP function should look up the value in cell Q5, which is our discount amount. I'm sorry, it's our 2016 sales. That's Q5. In the range of O10 through R11. So we're looking here. Okay, so it's actually that right there. The HLOOKUP function should then retrieve the value in the second row of the customer incentives lookup table. Since these free services are offered to customers that meet or exceed the yearly sales level listed in the customer incentives table, the HLOOKUP function should find an approximate match to the value in Q5. So an HLOOKUP function does exactly the same thing as a VLOOKUP, only when we're doing a VLOOKUP, we're looking vertically. That's what the V stands for, is vertical. So we're saying, okay, we're looking vertically for our information, for our match. So like the first VLOOKUP that we did, we looked vertically for 1019. And then you go across into the column to get the value that you want. A horizontal lookup or an HLOOKUP does the opposite. We're going to look horizontally for the value that we're looking for, and then look in the second row to determine exactly what's going to go in that cell. So let's do an H lookup. So we're going to do an equal and H lookup and open your parentheses. Our lookup value is this 2016 sales. And then our lookup table is O10 through R11. So O10 through R11. And you'll see it comes up and says customer incentives. Okay, and we're going to hit comma. And it's the second row because it's this bottom row that we're looking at. So I'm going to put a 2. And then we want an approximate match. So we're going to say true. And then say equal. And you'll see it says weekend tech support. So if you'll look, our 2016 sales was $302,000. So it's looking to see where this 302,000 falls along these lines. And it falls between here and here. So what it's saying is like, okay, we've hit 150,000, but we haven't quite hit 400,000. So we're going to use this 150,000. It doesn't match 150,000 exactly, but it's in between these two. So we're going to take this one. So that's our H lookup. Okay, step 11. Go to the customer analysis worksheet. In cell C4, enter a formula that uses the count function and structured references that counts the total number of customers in the customer Nashua table on the customer list worksheet. So we're going to say equal, and we're going to say count. We're going to open our parentheses. Then we're going to go to customer list. And we're going to choose the customer ID column. And actually, we're going to choose this one here. So we're going to choose cell A4, customer ID. And then close your parentheses and hit enter. Well, that didn't come out right. Let's go back to customer list and let's go ahead and hit select the header and see if that comes out correct. It does not. Okay, we're going to change the way we do this and we're going to actually just type it in. So we're going to say equal, count, open your parentheses. And we want to count the customers that are in the number of customers that are in the customer Nashua table. So we're going to start typing in customer. So you do the CUST and you'll see you have customer incentives and customers Nashua. We want customers Nashua. So click customers Nashua and then open your square brackets and you'll see all of our column headings have come up. So we want to choose the column that we want to use. In this case, we want customer ID. So I'm just going to hit the tab and then I'm going to close my brackets to say that's my column that I want to count. And then we're going to close our parentheses and hit enter. And that's the value that we wanted. Okay, in cell D4, we want to enter a formula that uses the COUNTIF function and structured references to count the number of customers with a priority rating of high in the customer's Nashua table. So we are going to, if we look at our customer list table, we look at our priority column, it says high. So we want to count. If this value is equal to high, then we want to count. If it's not equal to high, then we're not going to do anything. So we're going to say equal, and we're going to say count if, open parentheses, we want the customer Nashua table, open your square brackets, and then choose priority, and close your brackets and close your parentheses. Oh, sorry, not close your parentheses. So we've chosen our range, so we want the priority, but now we need the criteria. What are we counting? So we're going to say high. It's late. Actually, it's early. If you notice my clock in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, it is 3:47 in the morning. So we say high, hit enter, and there we get our count. Okay, step 13. In cell C5, enter a formula that uses the sum function and structured references to calculate the 2016 sales for all customers. So we're going to say equal sum, open parentheses, customer Nashua, open your brackets, and we want 2016 sales. Close your brackets, close your parentheses, and you're going to get a sum. In cell D5, we're going to use the SUMIF function to calculate the 2016 sales for customers with a priority rating of high. So this is the same thing as we did the COUNTIF, we're just doing a SUMIF. So we're going to say equal SUMIF, open parentheses, customer Nashua, open your parentheses, we're summing the 2016 sales. Our criteria is if the customer's Nashua priority is equal to high. And then close your parentheses. And that wasn't right. Okay, scratch that because I had it completely wrong. And if I would look at my cues down here, I want my range. So this is my criteria range. This is my if range. So we're saying if the priority is equal to high, then what are we going to sum together? So we want to first look at the customer Nashua table priority column, and we want to say if that is equal to high, and then if that's equal to high, then we want to sum the 2016 sales. That makes a little bit more sense. Now hit enter, and it actually works. Okay. Step 15. In cell D6, enter a formula to calculate the percentage of high priority customer sales out of all customers of 2016. The calculation should divide the 2016 high priority customer sales by the total 2016 sales for all customers. Format the cell using percentage number format with no decimal places. So basically we're going to do an equal sign. We're going to take the high priority customers and we're going to divide it by all customers and hit enter. And then we're going to take that and we're going to format it as a percentage with no decimal places. Okay, in step 16, in cell C7, enter a formula that uses the average function and structured references to calculate the average tenure of all customers in the customer's Nashua table. Okay, so we're going to say equal. This is the same as we've done with all of our other functions. We do average and open our parentheses, type in customers Nashua, open your brackets, and we want the average tenure, so we're going to choose tenure. Close your brackets, close your parentheses, and hit enter. In D7, step 17, in cell D7, enter a formula that uses the average if function and structured references to calculate the average tenure of customers with a priority rating of high. So equals average if, open parentheses, our range. So again, this is our criteria range. What column are we looking at for the criteria? So we're going to look at the customers Nashua priority column. The criteria is if it is high, and then we want to average our tenure. Sorry, customers Nashua, open your brackets, tenure, close your bracket, close your parentheses, and hit enter. Okay, in cell C8, enter a formula to calculate the average sales per customer for all customers. To calculate this average, divide the total 2016 sales by the total number of customers. So we're just going to, this is just a simple division problem. We're going to say equals the total number of sales and divided by the total number of customers, and hit enter. And then in cell D8, we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to do it with the high priority customers. So we're going to say equal sales divided by number of customers, and hit enter. And once you're done, double check your worksheets with the instructions and make sure that everything looks correct and that your numbers are coming out right. And once you're done, you can save it and submit it, and you're done. Have a great day, and we'll see you after the second exam for